Fairbanks Focus is a locally produced public affairs program created in part by University of Alaska Fairbanks, KTVF, and Fairbanks Economic Development Corporation.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us here at Fairbanks Focus Alaska View. I'm Nanette Pearson, and today I'm joined by Representative David Guttenberg of District 38. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. Tell our viewers out there what your district covers a little bit.
Well, right now, the past 2 years, I've been representing District 38, which is part of Goldstream, Esther, the Denali Borough, Nenana also, and Amonuk, Kotlik, Alukanuk, Scammon Bay, Hooper Bay, St. Mary's, Mountain Village, a lot of the villages along the Yukon, McGrath. It's right to the coast, right, of west. Minto, Ruby, Tanana.
That's a huge area.
Yes, it's a huge area. It's pretty much three cultures. And in order to get to a lot of the district, you have to fly to Anchorage, to fly to Bethel, to fly someplace else. So it's
probably quite a challenge to really meet all of your people that you represent.
Yes, it's a lot of work. It's going places where people are generally doing other things and involved in more important things in their lives than just meeting somebody in the village, coming to see them. You know, they're out hunting, fishing, doing those things, and you show up and it's like, hey, we're doing something else. Whereas compared with in Fairbanks, on a daily matter, you could just meet people at Fred Meyer's or at the gas station, have conversation with them. They've seen you before, they've seen you every day. And the new lines that are drawn, my district looks like entirely inside the Fairbanks North Star Borough.
Okay, so your district's about to change a little bit.
Yes, it doesn't look like anybody's going to challenge the plan in place now. So it'll be Esther, Goldstream, all of Goldstream, Farmers Loop, Fox, part of Chena Hot Springs Road. So back to just being a Fairbanks legislator.
Well, and that's still a pretty wide area, and of course, it's a lot of people that you're representing.
We spend a lot of time, both as candidates for office and as politicians, reaching out to people, and we do it endlessly, over and over and over again. And people are sitting out there saying, "Why don't you ever contact me? Why don't you ever talk to me?" So trying to bring that together so that they understand we're trying to do that. We are trying to do that.
Well, and
it's
helping
just another example.
To educate the people that you represent, because you really do want to represent them, and you want to know what they have to say and what their voices and what they find needs addressing or is important in Fairbanks. And so, yeah.
Well, education is very important, and we need people to come up behind us, fill in the voids. I'm not going to be here forever. Somebody, looking over my shoulder, who would be a good person to take my place at some point. Let me nurture them. Let me find out what they're interested in. Whether they're involved in politics or not. It's just always good to bring young people in, and here's how you succeed in doing this, getting your point across to state government. Whether you're in a nonprofit and you want to contact your legislature, or you're in a service area and you want to know about more funds to plow your road and capital improvements. Those are very important things that people need to know.
Yeah, well, and that's what you guys are there to do, is to help us all access that information and really help us facilitate how to work with our government.
Yeah, it's frustrating often to try and do things for people, and then you hear, well, I didn't know how to do that. Well, it's my job to make sure that you know how to outreach to me, to other legislators. If you're in my district, you come to me. If you're in somebody else's district, go to them. If they won't help, I'll give you what help I can. But we are a larger community as a whole, and we all do a good job on doing that. So the more we can do that outreach to people, the more we meet with people and talk about those things, instead of what we want, give them the tools to express what they want.
Absolutely. Well, and in regards to that too, I want to talk a little bit about the new Affordable Care Act, because I know it's a real hot topic right now, and it affects a lot of people. And I know with the new Medicaid extension, Alaska's not really taking part in that. And it affects just a whole myriad of people, even on a personal level. You know, I believe my husband and I would qualify for the Medicaid extension if Alaska had it. But since we're not accepting it, we are still, you know, in that sort of funny place where we don't qualify for lots of things that we actually need.
Right. Yeah. Well, we have a broken system now. I mean, the system that we're coming out of was broken.
Yes.
A lot of people had insurance that was not really insurance. When it came time to use it, they were disqualified, or the benefit was so small and it wasn't there. So coming up with something that that's market-based is what the Affordable Health Care Act is. We had a broken website for a while, which was very frustrating. But you know, there's two parts of this equation. One is healthcare, right, which is another issue. But this is about getting insurance so you have coverage, and that needs to be expanded so that people have options. People need to have options, and it's a market-driven program. It needs to do more. It needs to do better. People need to know that they have the ability to have that they can walk in when they're sick, and they don't have to wait until they have to go to the emergency room. That things are there available to them. Even in our limited market here, you know, we're just in a kind of an isolated community at the end of the road. You know, there's a lot of things here we have that we should be grateful for, because when I got here, a lot of them weren't here.
That's true.
So there's a lot of things that has grown for delivering healthcare, but there's still a lot of things short and missing. And you know, as far as the state's obligation, I really think it's we should have been doing a lot more to bring healthcare and insurance to people who want it, instead of being ideologically opposed to expanding it or giving people options. Because this is a conservative answer to the healthcare crisis. It's market-based. You know, it's focusing people into different markets, to having to buy insurance. You know, I would have done it differently. You know, but that's what we have.
Do you know, is there anything that we can do as citizens to sort of help facilitate what's happening in our state with the health care? Because, like I said, I know with us not taking in the Medicaid, is there a place for that to happen in the future? Is there something that we...
Sure, that's an easy answer. Reach out to your legislators, to the governor, to your local government, telling them that, you know, you want to have these services, you want to have these things available to you. You know, these are things that are important to my family. That's actually what it's all about. What is the best thing that I can do for my family on a day-to-day basis? Tell us that. If you like it, if you don't like it, whichever side it is, express your opinion to me, to your legislator, to the governor, to the congressional delegation, to the president, to all of us. You know, it's amazing how effective it is, and one of those reasons is because so few of it is done on a personal level. So it means something, and give us your story. You don't have to be, it doesn't have to be a PhD dissertation. Just tell us your story. Imagine you're writing a letter to somebody, an old-timey letter. You know, a handwritten letter is probably has a pretty high value when it shows up in my office. Somebody wrote a letter in script, explaining why their family, or whatever it is, their family, their children, their grandparents, what the problem is, and there's a fix available. That's a very effective tool. So that was like meeting with the AYP, the Angry Young and Poor. These are things you need to do. Personalize it. You don't need to know the answer. You just need to explain to us that there's a problem. And be
telling the right people what the problem is.
Yeah, getting the message out. You know, not everybody gets on television. Not everybody has the opportunity to meet with the carrier, you know, your insurance carrier. Most of it's an 800 number or website. But your legislators are here in town. You see us in the supermarket. You see us on the street again. Talk to us. We're your neighbors. And that's, if you want to get your message across, that's what we're here for.
Well, and for people, of course, who maybe are like out in Minto, where would they write these letters to? Do you actually know the address offhand?
Well, you know, you can go to the Legislative Information Office, or you can Google them, or you could just call my office. My office is 456-8172, and I can tell you there will only be a few people who will take advantage of this. or if you know who your legislator is, hit 411 on your phone and say, Pete Kelly, Scott Kawasaki, the governor's office. Just ask. It's amazingly how fast it is you get here to an answer, to somebody to talk to.
Well, and that's great. And I think that we don't, like you said, not enough of us take part in verbalizing what our issues are. Mm-hmm. And, I was really excited about the Affordable Care Act because I was like, oh, awesome, now there'll be affordable insurance. And unfortunately, what I found was that I'm still fall in that place where there's not really insurance that is incredibly affordable for me because we didn't extend the Medicaid, which is a little bit unfortunate. But, and part and parcel to that, it's like, well, what do I do from here? They were very nice in informing me over the phone with the Affordable Care Act that I wouldn't be charged any fees because we're poor enough to not be having insurance, but that wasn't the solution to the problem. Is, of course, like you said in a conversation earlier, going to the emergency room, paying out of pocket cash is the most expensive way to get insurance, to get health care of any sort.
Yeah, and part of that is the savings in having a program like this. The fact is that we pay for a lot of insurance of people who don't have insurance. When they walk into the hospital, instead of going to the doctor, they end up going to the hospital. Or they go to jail because something has happened, or they show up someplace or in the hospital. Those charges don't go away. When the hospital or the doctor has nobody to bill, they get absorbed and they show up on everybody else's bill. And we can talk about hospital billing and the cost of healthcare. That's quite a big issue. But the rest of us are paying for that. Oh, yeah. So by giving people health care so they go to the doctor instead of the emergency room, there's a huge savings on that. Not just in dollars, but in social costs.
Yeah, and for society as a whole, it makes it
That's right.
better for all of us if we can all get health care.
That's right. We all talk about, as politicians, a healthy society. We want our people to be healthy. We want a strong economy. Well, if it's built on broken promises and the health of our citizens, something's wrong.
Yeah.
No, and it has to be, healthcare has to be delivered somehow in a reasonable way with a reasonable expectation you're going to get it. And we have had a system that's been broken, and we're trying to fix it.
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate you coming and talking to us about it
my
today.
pleasure.
And it's been really, really great for you to come sit down and I want to encourage our viewers out there. If you'd like to weigh in really on anything going on in our legislature, feel free to get a hold of your representative, get a hold of Governor Parnell. You can do that via website, phone, and as David Guttenberg was saying, a handwritten letter still holds a lot of sway. So. Thanks
Well, I want to say one thing. The most important thing that's going on in the state now is the fact that, and it'll affect everything. It'll affect healthcare, it'll affect education, it'll affect your road getting plowed, and that is the fact that we have given away our state legacy. We have people in power right now who have given away what the constitutional framers were very concerned about, and that is a return on our natural resources. We need to be defending Alaska instead of giving it away. We just started now in this budget cycle. The governor's budget just came out. This is the start of reductions in everything that we know. I mean, if you want your road plowed, that's going to be diminished. If you want a teacher for your kid in school, there's going to be fewer teachers. I mean, it's everything that you could think of. The federal government gave us the resources because we were a small state. With the understanding that these are resources for you to build a state.
To create the infrastructure.
Right, and then, in the 40s and 50s, even going farther back historically, other people control our resources. The fish, the timber, the fur, go back to the Russians with the fur. If we don't defend our state and stand up for it, and we'll allow other people to just come in and take what we have, which is what's happening right now, then we're going back to colonial status. We won't have anything. We won't be able to fly out and visit our families outside. The permanent fund will be impacted in no time at all. Not today, not tomorrow, but just right down the road. We're going to be hit really hard. And the things you think you want from your family are not going to be there here. So that is something that's my message back.
Well, and we would really like people to weigh in on this. So please get a
Yes.
hold of representatives. Tell them how these things affect you. What we want for our future in Alaska. So
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks again for joining us
Thank
today. Next up, we have Annie Bartholomew talking with the Fairbanks Literacy Council.
Welcome back to Fairbanks Focus Alaska View. I'm your host, Annie Bartholomew, here with Mike Kolasa from the Fairbanks Literacy Council. Hey, Mike.
Hi, Annie.
Thanks for being on the show today.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
So tell me about the Literacy Council.
The Literacy Council is a wonderful nonprofit here in interior Alaska. Our mission is to change lives through literacy, and we have been doing that since 1973.
Since the 70s.
Since the 70s. That's going back quite a ways.
Literacy's groovy.
Literacy is groovy. And the backbone, kind of the historic bread and butter of the Literacy Council has been adult education, specifically working with English as a second language. So we have students right now from probably 45 different countries right here in Fairbanks.
45 different countries?
45 different countries. So everything from Mongolia, there's been a large influx of some Mongolian students, to Latin America, South America. We always have a few African students and quite a few Eastern European. And then the majority of our students are from Korea and some of the Asian countries. So it's a great adventure for me. And we have in Fairbanks, in our borough, 10.9% of our population that doesn't speak English as their primary language. So over 10,000 people right here in the borough who don't speak English as their first language. We do things like citizenship, studying to get driver's licenses, being able to meet with parents and teachers for parent-teacher conferences, all kinds of practical things. So it's a wonderful part of the community, and it's a lot of fun. We have excellent potlucks also, so we have a lot of international cuisine at the Literacy Council. So.
How do you find people?
Oh, people find us. So the number one recruiter for the Literacy Council is word of mouth. So you would have an uncle, you would have an aunt, your whole family would be coming in for literacy classes. And then we work quite a bit with the University of Alaska Fairbanks also. That has an ESL program as well. So a lot of our students go on to take classes up at the university at some point, depending on their own goals. And then we also have a lot of school-age literacy as well. So the school age, we have some after-school programs. We work with a lot of at-risk youth. And then we do a lot of one-on-one tutoring as well. And that's so exciting because, kids, a lot of the kids we work with may not be readers. They may be hesitant readers. And I was working with one boy recently who's about third grade. He reads at maybe a first grade level, and he had never read for more than about a page, maybe 2 minutes at the most. And, we always have silly putty, so they're playing with silly putty, and they're reading, and they're getting a word here, missing a word there. And we were reading Flat Stanley. Flat Stanley. It's an incredible book if you haven't read it. And this young boy got so excited, and we literally read together alternating pages for 20 minutes. Which for us was a huge success and just a great feat for this young boy to have 20 straight minutes reading a book. So we're working hard with these children, and sometimes we're able to put other components in as well, like drug prevention and things like that. So we do a lot with school age. And then we also have some computer literacy. So we're a Microsoft authorized refurbisher, which means we take donated computers from the community. We put some new hardware in if we need to. We get to use Microsoft's operating system and then give those out to low-income Alaskans or to local nonprofits. So for example, the Street Outreach Program, we were able to provide them 5 computers for their youth shelter.
Wow.
So it's really an exciting thing to be able to provide the technology as well, and then have classes for folks to learn how to use computers. So that's kind of an overall picture of what we do at the Literacy Council. Last year, if folks are interested in volunteering, we had about 280 volunteers last year that donated over 16,000 hours. So we use a lot of people from the community to change lives through literacy. So if people are interested in volunteering, interested in any of our programs, they're welcome to check us out at literacycouncilofalaska.org.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's our website. We've got a great little Facebook page. I don't Facebook myself, but there's some really good pictures of me playing Santa Claus on our Facebook page. So we've got a little bookstore also called Forget Me Not Books. We do a First Fridays event every first Friday where any child that comes in gets a free book. We love to give away books. Last year, total, we gave out about 21,000 books free. So those are going all over the state. Head Start sites, Parents as Teachers sites, locally the jail, Golden Towers. We're sending books out all over the place. So last year we gave out about 21,000 books, but anybody in Fairbanks, any child can come in on a First Friday and get a free book. And so I also played Santa Claus this First Friday. So folks can see that wonderful time on Facebook. And then Forget Me Not Books, which is the bookstore, has a Facebook page as well. And as folks come in and spend money buying books, most of which are $2. In fact, we had a UAF student come in not long ago, 2 days ago, and he had a list about this long from a professor I won't name of books he had to buy. Professor's a good friend of mine also, though. And he was able to find 2 of them, and then he put his name on our little book request list, and we found all of the Norton anthologies that he needed. And I don't know, we may even just give them to him because we're nice, but we may just sell them for $2 or something ridiculously cheap so that he can go and succeed at the university. So education from start to finish. And providing books, helping folks any way we can, and changing lives through literacy.
So what will volunteers do if they decide to be involved?
Yes, volunteers. We need volunteers for our bookstore, so they can run the cash register, they can sort books, they can organize books, they can go clean books. We have so many books that come in. People donating are so generous. And then we also need volunteers to work in our one-on-one tutoring program. So you could tutor an adult. Maybe you have a specific interest in Africa and you would love to help teach English to an African. You can meet once a week. We'll help you get some curriculum, help you get set up. The student will set goals. We'll do an icebreaker. And then you guys can meet once a week and study and learn together. We also need volunteers in our school-age program. So if you like to do second grade math, or if you're interested in helping out in one of our after-school program with at-risk students, you can come in as well and help out in those school-age programs. So there's a lot of information even on volunteering on our website. You can send us an email or give us a call at 456-READ, 456-READ, so kind of a fun phone number. And there are lots of ways to be involved. We always are looking for qualified people to join our board of directors, which is a volunteer board of directors, and always looking for random volunteer opportunities like cleaning blackboards, doing maintenance, maybe a little electrical work. So kind of anything that somebody is good at that they're interested in doing, they can come out to the Literacy Council and we can find something for them to do to help out.
Great. Well, this may seem like a silly question, but why is literacy important?
Yeah, literacy is so important for a lot of reasons. I think number one, I'll give my big theoretical answer, community. Community is based on trust. There's a great article by Robert Putnam of Harvard called What Makes Democracy Work? And at the end of the day, you have to have trust in order to have community, and you have to have civic involvement and social capital. And part of the requirement for that is the ability to communicate, whether it's written, in writing, or the verbal, being able to speak. And so literacy is so important to build community. And so, of course, there are indicators from literacy to a reduction in crime, reduction in unemployment. These kind of things are indicators. But at the end of the day, I would point to community, trust, and the ability to function as a democratic society. So I think literacy is absolutely foundational. Education is absolutely foundational to, I think, what we would all hope to have as citizens. So that would be my pat answer.
Great.
Yeah. I was going to mention the Bisbee as well, if
What's
we have
that?
a moment. The Bisbee is our largest annual fundraiser. It's coming up in February on Thursday the 20th. And every year, teams are sponsored, adults are sponsored, sometimes a few high school students. Teams of 3 go in and they have an adult spelling contest. It's a lot of fun. It's at the Westmark Gold Room. There's information on the website, but people can register and come out and spell. If you have an interest in spelling, I'm a terrible speller. I have never participated. I always stand there and smile and say thank you to all the people who come out and spell, but it's a great event, and it's our largest fundraiser each year, and all of that money goes to support the educational programs at the Literacy Council. So I wanted to mention that as well. There's a silent auction that evening, there's a dinner that evening, and it's just kind of a fun way to come out and meet people and hang out with a bunch of nerds.
Do you remember what the winning word was last year?
I can't. After the first round, I can't remember any of the words. I can't spell them. They're all just over my head. I should probably go back and look. We had it on our website for quite a while, but I know that the co-op market always has an excellent team. The downtown Rotary always has a team. If the doctors come from FMH, they always have an excellent team, and there are several UAF teams that always do well also. So who knows what will happen this year, but it's always a good time, and there's some good rivalry with people passing difficult words to other teams. So it's a great event.
Great. So can you tell me why you got involved with the Literacy Council?
Yes. I had a chance to spend some time in Africa. back in my youth and enjoyed being overseas. I enjoy international stuff. And I also have a background in fundraising. I have a background in business, and I have a background in exegetical studies and literacy. And so all of those things, along with the fact that I needed a job when I moved to Fairbanks, combined, and the door opened, and I came in and interviewed, and I think that it was, I was not the most qualified person applying for the job in my opinion, but that's the way things go sometimes. And I've had an absolutely great time. I've been at the Literacy Council about 7 years. I've seen tremendous growth both in the adult programs and especially over the past 3 or 4 years in the school age programs, the number of children that we're able to work with, even at Birch Park, for example, which is a low-income housing unit that AHFC runs. To provide an after-school program there that can have an educational focus is just a tremendous thing for our community and for these youngsters. So it's been a great time. I've had a blast. I'm so privileged to have an amazing staff, to have a great board of directors, and to have those 280 volunteers that come out day after day to make an investment in changing people's lives through literacy.
If you had to guess how many lives have been changed through the Fairbanks Literacy Council, what would you guess?
So we do keep track. And I would say there's a broad category of what I call beneficiaries, people who benefit from our services. And that total for the last couple of years has been about 3,000 people every year.
3,000 people?
3,000 people a year. And that would include, for example, let's say we sent 500 books to a Boys and Girls home or a Boys and Girls Club. I might count that as 5 beneficiaries. Or if we sent 1,000 books to these 3 villages, I would count 5 people from each village. So sometimes it's a very minimal, just gentle, these people benefit because they got these books. So I would count those numbers. And then sometimes there are kids in our after-school programs where they're in every day for a couple of hours a day, all year round. In the summer, they're here 6 hours a day. So it's very intensive, very hardcore educational, very intense relationship that we have with these youngsters. So I count them as well. So it's a broad spectrum, but each year we are touching about 3,000 lives. And that's increased as well over the last several years.
Incredible.
It is incredible. It is incredible. It's a lot of fun, I think we've got a great school district. They're doing great work. We partner with the school district a lot. We're able to do contract services with the school district. I mean, there's so many educators here in the community, everything, right up through the university. And we're just one part of that are kind of serving some of the most in need, or some of the folks that maybe can't afford other services or can't access other services. So it's a really neat agency that started back in the 70s and has continued to be relevant, and I think will probably continue to be relevant if we continue to have this explosion of Thai restaurants in Fairbanks, right? Then we'll continue to have a relevance in the world of education here in the interior.
Wonderful. So where can people go to learn more about the Literacy Council
again?
Yeah,
so people can go to www.literacycouncilofalaska.org, or they can give us a call at 456-READ, 456-READ, or if you'd rather dial numbers instead of letters, you can just dial 456-6212. And someone will be there Monday through Saturday, but generally from 9 to 6. Great. So we're hanging out, we're around, and always looking for folks to be involved.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
You're very welcome.
This is Mike Kolasa from the Fairbanks Literacy Council. I'm Annie Bartholomew, your host, and this is Fairbanks Focus Alaska View. To learn more about our program, visit fairbanksfocus.com. Thanks for watching.